We told you June was going to pop. We got Justin Rowe on the line from Stadium and Main podcast to break down all the news concerning Michigan football recruiting. And there is much to break down, and most of it is quite speculative, but obviously there's interest out there in Michigan football, and that's a good thing. Justin, how are we doing today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just trying to keep up with all of this, Michigan and otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, you said it there, June. Now, the dead period is over, and it seems like there's 1,000 visits every day. So I can't imagine what these kids are dealing with all the information coming at them. And on the other side, the coaches are trying to, I'm sure they're scribbling all over their boards and figuring out who's going where and what's happening with everyone. And I'm sure it's a crazy time for everybody out there.
So we're checking off a few near certainties. And when I say that, of course, I keep in mind that December is actually when they sign. So the commits are tentative, but we've got one in the books at quarterback, 4-star Jayden Denegal out of California.
Yeah, so this kind of came out of the blue a little bit. I don't think that it was Jayden wasn't a guy that Michigan was on for a long time. He actually had visited at MSU a few days prior, and people thought that he was going to go there. Well, there's some speculation that MSU may have not had him as a take. And then he went over, came to Michigan, threw for the coaches at Michigan. They really liked him. And then not shortly after, he committed. And so, he's been a guy that's kind of under the radar, a 4-star, but still not really, in the fold for a lot of teams out there. I know he played, he's 6'4", played at 225 last year, and then slimmed down to 215 to get a little bit more speed on him. And so he'll be a dual threat for Michigan. And after, obviously Michigan has J.J. McCarthy coming in this year as one of the top quarterbacks in the country. But for 2022, it looks like Michigan has found its QB.
According to the statistics on Max Preps, 62% completion percentage last year in high school, which is about a couple ticks, maybe 15 ticks above Joe Milton.
Yeah.
And the infamous 47% completion percentage that is stuck right here ever since. I couldn't believe it. 200 plus yards passing per game, 11 touchdowns out of Jayden Denegal out of California, 19th rated pro style quarterback in the nation, according to the 247 Sports Composite, a top 300 player, regardless of position.
Yeah, what I liked about him too there was low interceptions. I think he had something in the 20s for touchdowns and in the single digits still for interceptions. So for a guy who's throwing a decent amount there at the high school level and a young guy, you like to see that he's not making too many mistakes.
Here we go. For the career, 45 passing touchdowns, only 8 interceptions, over 3,000 yards passing.
There you go. That's pretty dang good.
Pretty dang good. Aaron Rodgers type ratio right there.
Is that what you're saying? He's going to be Aaron Rodgers? All right, there you go.
Yeah, somebody's going to take that and run with it and say, Rodgers said this guy's going to be, and when he's a third stringer in 2 years, he's going to say, yeah, this guy knows nothing about football. No, the Aaron Rodgers comparison was not made, just the TD to pick ratio in high school compared to the NFL.
Exactly.
All right. Justin Rowe's on the line from Stadium and Main podcast, breaking down the maize and blue. And recruiting season, as we discussed prior to the record, brings with it some interesting social media posts and some interesting leans and relationships and then some speculation that goes along with that. Give us the latest on the one Alex VanSumer and his recruitment.
Yeah, so his brother Ben VanSumer was a fullback / running back here at Michigan, even as early as or as recent as last year. And so everybody thought, yeah, all right, his brother's here in Ann Arbor. His, Alex is probably the better of the two, being 300 pounds, very athletic, plays both sides of the ball at running back and D line for his high school team. Everyone thinking, all right, he's coming to Ann Arbor too. It's going to be a huge get. Well, all of a sudden, earlier in this spring, Ben VanSumer transfers. Well, guess where he's transferring to? Just down the road in East Lansing to Michigan State. That throws up some red flags that, gets everybody all up in arms. Well, now that throws a huge wrinkle into his brother's recruitment. So Alex VanSumer all of a sudden is a huge target for Michigan State, and it looks like he is going to head there. He hasn't made a commitment just yet, but all what we've seen on social media in the past few weeks is Ben VanSumer and Alex VanSumer holding the Paul Bunyan Trophy, which is the trophy awarded to whoever wins the Michigan State game. So as you can imagine, that ruffles some feathers for the Michigan fan base when you're seeing guys that, were in the Michigan locker room very recently, and you thought that the brother was going to come too. Now they're holding the trophy that Michigan State stole from them last year.
So does that mean something? We don't know.
We don't know. I don't know. I mean, we'll see it. I think it means that right now the VanSumerans may be enemy number one of the Michigan fan base. But I think, I think it means a lot from what Michigan State and Mel Tucker is building over there. I know, they've struggled a little bit in some misses with recruits and things like that, but they're still, he's just in year 2 after the weirdest year of all time. And they're going to be able to build. So I think VanSumer is going to be, probably a big piece of Michigan State's, recruiting class there. Does that mean then also that Jim Harbaugh is losing some guys and doesn't have guys on board? And they, it does have to mean something that you not only are going to say, I don't want to be in this locker room anymore, but I want to be in our enemy's locker room. That says something that you're not in with the culture in Ann Arbor.
If I had a son that was that good at football and was being recruited across the nation, I would tell him, lay low, don't do anything stupid, don't say anything stupid, be respectful of everyone. Every visit's a great visit, and do all the right things. That would be my advice. I think on one end of the spectrum, we've got I'll say these type of situations where players will go to specific campuses, and they're not taking the traditions and the allegiances as seriously as the fans do and the alumni, of course. And they just kind of go with whatever the thing is, and they'll do just about anything. So you got those guys. Certainly there was an Auburn player like 10 years ago who got an Auburn tattoo. He ended up going to Alabama, and he got an Auburn tattoo when he committed to Auburn, and then he ends up going to Alabama. Then on the other end of the spectrum, we got to realize that the alumni and the fans of those particular teams are mighty serious, and they see something like that and they think you're arch enemy number one immediately. Right. So there may be a little bit of a balance to it, but we don't know. It depends on the person.
For sure.
Justin Rowe on the line from Stadium and Main podcast. Good stuff right there. Sebastian Cheeks, maybe more a little traditional of a recruitment, at least thus far, until something comes out on social media about him. But 13th rated linebacker out of Evanston, Illinois. I believe there's a Big Ten football team that plays there, but he is eyeing Michigan.
He is, yeah, and I think he is somebody. I think the build of Sebastian Cheeks is what Michigan's looking at. 6'3", 210, which is pretty big, for a linebacker that Michigan has seen. The linebackers that Michigan has had in the past, when you think of Devin Bush and guys like that, they're on the smaller side, sometimes undersized, but they've made that work. So, when you're looking at a guy like Sebastian Cheeks, you're looking at a big dude. And I think that, Michigan wants to bulk up. That's where I'm thinking, all right, you got Mike McDonald, this new D coordinator that's coming in. He's going to use guys in different ways. There's no longer that Viper position that was Jabril Peppers, that is a different, hybrid type of linebacker anymore. So they're trying to go back to a traditional 4-3 defense, I believe, and they're looking at bulking up those linebackers, making sure they're run stoppers, stop that run, and then be able to also, run with some of the tight ends and defend those in pass coverage as well.
Justice Finley is a defensive lineman out of Alabama, and he has received an offer from the Crimson Tide among 30 offers. Visits recently to Colorado and Texas, but also to Ann Arbor.
Yeah, anytime you can get a kid from Alabama who's got an offer from Alabama to even come up to Ann Arbor and visit and be interested, I think that's something to take into consideration. And so he's a a big D lineman that you want. I mean, Michigan needs that position so badly. They are. It's been a position for the past 2-3 years that they haven't really excelled at since Harbaugh came in. And, even a guy like him, 6'2", 255, that's pretty undersized for a D lineman. So they're going to want to bulk him up. But I still think if Alabama has him as a good take, Michigan's going to take him too.
Got Justin Rowe on the line from Stadium and Main Podcast. Follow him right there at Justin Rowe 92, Stadium and Main Podcast. Catch it every edition there. And of course, Justin joins us on a regular basis to talk Michigan football and much to talk about during the month of June, including an edge rusher in Mario Eugenio. He's the 13th rated player at his position, and mentioning the final two that we just recapped. Those are both top 130 players, regardless of position. That's high up the charts. And Eugenio, a top 300 player as well out of the state of Florida.
Yeah, and Eugenio came up to Ann Arbor. Michigan had the Victors weekend this past weekend where they hosted tons of kids on campus. They got tons of great reviews from kids, and Eugenio was one of the ones who probably said the best things about Michigan this weekend. And so he actually was supposed to head to Indiana to take an official visit there, canceled that official visit, and decided that he was going to set a date here in early July for his commitment. So, I know we always like to read the tea leaves and read into things. When somebody goes to a place and sets their commitment date shortly after, cancels all other visits, that usually means good things for the place he was just at. So I like Michigan's chances with Eugenio, another edge rusher. Michigan has put out edge rushers from, that's what has been their best position probably, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You've got Kwity Paye going into the NFL. You've got Aiden Hutchinson back this year. So Eugenio could be one of the next guys that's coming in to be a great edge rusher for Michigan.
We talk Michigan football on a regular basis here at the Voice of College Football, courtesy Justin Rowe. Please catch him on his Stadium and Main podcast, and there you see the Twitter handle down below. Please like the videos, share the videos out on social media, because if you enjoy the content, others will as well. And join us here on a regular basis. I am finding out that there's a number of ways to spell Dion. Dion Walker is D-E-O-N-E. Dion Walker out of Cass Tech, and we see Cass Tech popping up as a powerhouse there in Detroit, and a number of players move on to the next level from there, and he seems to be the latest. Yeah,
I think getting recruits for Michigan from Cass Tech is huge. It's a pipeline. It's where the best players from Michigan play. And so, a guy like Dion Walker, although he's only a 3-star right now, he's still a big boy, 6'6", 340. So I think if you have that body, then if you get onto a campus and work with a strength team, strength program, they can probably shape you up and get you to get on the field. And so, I know Michigan has always wanted that Cass Tech pipeline. They've gotten it over the years. And so that would be a huge in-state win for Michigan. They want to keep that going. I think, as I said earlier, as Mel Tucker continues to really plug away at recruiting in the state of Michigan, I think Michigan's got to keep a strong hold on these big in-state high school programs to make sure that they have the pipelines for those big dogs coming in.
Top 15 player in the state of Michigan, and 29 offers, including Arkansas, Arizona State, and otherwise. Got Justin Rowe on the line talking Michigan football. And Justin, we appreciate you keeping us up to date on all these guys. My goodness, there is quite the list and more to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Will Johnson, who is Michigan's top-rated recruit here coming in from Detroit as well. He even said it. We saw J.J. McCarthy do the same thing last year, where he was very outspoken, was almost a recruiting coordinator for Michigan. Well, Will Johnson has been taking that role on this year for this class, and he came out and said after this past Victors weekend that July is going to be a big month for Michigan recruiting. So very excited. I think there's going to be a lot more to come, but I think it's good to see these 5 stars for Michigan being, going out and being those spokespeople for these new classes for recruiting, making sure that they, these guys feel at home when they come to visit on campus. And so hopefully that means good things for Jim Harbaugh and the Wolverines moving forward.
Justin, we always appreciate you dropping the knowledge and insight for us.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.